Hello everyone, I welcome you all to AK Codes a lot. So today we'll be discussing what can and should be your first programming language if you're entering college and you'll be pursuing B.Tech, BSc in computer science or BCA. In general, if you want to go in tech or pursue your career in tech. So there are first I want to clear some myths about all these programming languages and stuff. First thing is, if you say that I know HTML CSS as a programming language, it is not a programming language. It is just designed to do some specific task. So when picking a programming language, keep this in mind. Whatever programming language that you are picking is famous enough and has all the features that a programming language has. Second myth is that what is the best programming language to learn? So I think that there is no best. Specific programming languages are good at specific tasks as compared to other programming languages. Another thing is that this is something that I've observed a lot. There are people who have like main language, they have a main language but they know all the other languages and stuff too, because when it comes to main language you can actually develop or build something new, do something incredible with it. But you should and must know almost all the languages at the end of the day, because company would like to have a person who knows everything so they can like fix minor bugs and like invigilate AI if the time comes, right? So the third myth is that DSA should only be done in C, C++, and Java. So I think nah, you can pick any language. As I said, the language should and must have programming fundamentals. Don't pick a language that lacks some of these things. So people say that C and C++, Java are better. They are better, but they are not, like, it is not a must. Outside India, people use Python a lot for DSA, because DSA is more than just programming language. It is more about logic and all, and like competitive programming and all. You can do it in Python, JavaScript, but the problem is you will realize it soon that C++ is just better if you want to survive in this competitive programming environment. We'll talk about everything later. I'll tell you about all the things that I have made like mistakes and you should not. So the fourth myth is that AI will take over jobs. Well, the clear answer is no. I use a lot of AI in web development and I never rely on AI. Like, I never trust AI with my eyes closed, because I know AI, it's not that it makes mistakes sometimes. For a complex project, if you are using a model that is just like an LLM model, a free LLM model, it just makes a mistake every time. It just like never touch the edge cases. And these type of things, if you go to a higher level, if you go to a company and you do these type of things, it's a pretty bad practice. So even the best models like Fable and all, the ones who have just come, the ones which have just released, even those models need someone who can invigilate. So company would like to have a candidate. This is my opinion, by the way. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong somewhere. If someone who knows more than me, he can correct me in the comment section. So I think even the best models need someone to invigilate. Company would rather have a person who knows how to code, because just think about it. If the company run out of like models and all, if some crisis happens, because at the same times this AI and all of these things, it is not very sustainable, if you guys know. So a time will come when it will be moderated and all. Today everyone is just abusing this. So I think it's a good point to start the video. I'll be discussing about all the programming languages, their pros, their cons, why should you pick them. At last the choice will be yours. Almost all the languages offers a lot, but whatever you pick, start learning it instead of hopping to 10 videos and 10 tutorials and just quitting everything at once. So yeah, let's move ahead. Okay, so first language that we'll be talking about is C and C++. First thing I want to clarify, I just said that you have to learn multiple languages at some point, but that is at some point. I think the first 1 or 2 years of college, even 3 years of college, you should just master fundamentals instead of languages, and one language should be enough to do this. And when I say one language, I am trying to say that learn C and C++. Now C and C++, they are very good with low level systems. Now I will try to explain you what I'm trying to say. Now think about it. I try to use like less technical terms, because I know that like a lot of freshers maybe are watching this. So I want to tell you something, that Python is based on C. Like C is a type of like mother of Python. You see what I'm trying to say? So C, actually, if you learn C or C++, it tells you about everything, how things work in like CPU level. You can actually make operating systems and all with C. You heard that meme? मेरे को Python full stack आता है और मैं EVM machine hack कर सकता हूँ, EVM machine बना सकता हूँ. I don't think it's possible with Python, but it is absolutely possible with C. C programmers, I'm not even talking about C++ right now. Let me talk about C only. C programmers are aura farmers. Like, I'll be mentioning something. Okay, so I just mentioned a screenshot of a post on Code Forces. So it talks about a programmer that has his own library, that has his own ways of doing C, like competitive programming, and he does it with C. Someone who does competitive programming in C, just think about it. He writes all the built-in functions that C++ provide you. He have written and developed all of it by his own self. Something like object-oriented programming, there's less environment of oops in C, but someone who does everything in C knows a lot more than a programmer who does it with Python, Java, or C++, even C++. So yeah, C and C++ are great. I'll tell you about myself. So I am team Python all the way. I use Python for almost all the things, to learn almost all the things. We'll talk about it later, but I'll tell you something. I learned C++, and C++ actually saved me from something that I was doing wrong. So what I was doing wrong is I was using Python a lot, and Python offers a lot for you. It makes tasks easy, but if you don't know what's happening under the hood, your codes, your programs, they are highly non-optimal. So when I learned C++, first of all, it was very easy to switch from Python to C++. But when I learned C++ and when I did some DS in C++, I came to know that sometimes I used to think that a Python function, a built-in Python function is faster, but it is not. And in C++, you define everything. You just write everything, you define everything, like from variables to functions, like what will this function return, what type of input do am I expecting. But Python, you don't have to define these things, it just happens itself. I'll tell you a short summary of how C++ works and why it is considered a very fast language. So let's think about it. First of all, it's a compiler based language. Now this is a technical term, most of the people don't know about it. So let's take an example. There are three calculations. Let's say there are three calculations, x, y, z. So C++ execute all the three calculations at the same time. We'll talk about what Python does later in the video, but this is what C++ does, and that's why it is very fast. And something like people are very interested in quant roles and everything, because it offers a lot of pay scale and all, and it offers a lot of opportunities too. So C++ is something that is a must in these quant firms, because everything happens on a like scale of milliseconds. You see what I'm trying to say? So C++, because it's fast, so it is widely used in quant firms and all. Something like Python is not very reliable for quant rows and everything. So let's move to the next language. So we are going to talk about my favorite, Python. So Python, one of the most famous languages, and it is famous because it's the syntax of Python, like how it is written. It's easier to learn the syntax, it's easier to implement your codes in Python than something like C++ and Java. Now, if I talk about Python, let's first talk about the cons, because there are a lot, and I've discovered a lot because this is my main language. So the first thing Python is, let's take the example that I took in C++. X, Y, Z, there are three calculations to make. Python is an interpreter language. It interprets everything line by line. So when there are three calculations, they will not be executed at the same time. First X will get executed, then Y, then Z, and that's why Python is slow. But still, it's manageable. It's not very slow, and with every update it gets faster. I just heard that recently the interpreter got a little bit of like upgrade and all. So yeah, the very good thing about Python is the ecosystem, the environment, and the community, the high community support. Almost every week there is some incredible module or library that is being launched by some very good programmer in this world. I am very active on tech-based Discord servers, and I will say this, like random people work on random projects of Python. Python is something that people are not only using to get hired, they are using it to build something which will be the future. As you know that data science, AI, ML, Python is the undisputed king of these fields today. So why is this? Because everyone chose this language to carry the legacy of AI, ML and all. I'll talk about Rust later in the video. It is better than Python in AI, ML, but still no one uses it. I'll talk about it later. So yeah, in Python, you get a lot of community support. You will get a lot of like solutions if you're stuck on something. And the one thing that I want to say is the biggest advantage of Python is when I think about learning something. Like recently, 3 months ago, I thought, oh, let's just learn backend development. I never was worried that I have to learn programming. I was worried that I have to learn backend development, the fundamentals of backend development. What is routing? What is sessions? What is redirecting? What are HTTPS codes? I was worried about this. I was never worried about Python. Recently, I started data science. I was never worried about that. I have to learn Python first. I just started it. If I want to learn AI ML someday, I don't have to worry. I have to think like what type of language do I have to master. Python is always there. Even game development, even though game development is one of that area that Python is not good at, but if you want to like make GBA and 2D games, Python is there. Like C++ and like C++ is the king of game development, I guess. Almost all the games like BGMI, Minecraft, and like let's go more higher, like PC games like GT and all. These are designed in C++ as far as I know. So yeah, uh, this is all about Python. There is one very big mistake that people make that I made that I just told. When you are learning Python and when you learn a new functions, like learn a new library, when you come to know about a new library or function, always and always try to also learn how is this working under the hood. If you are a Python developer and you know how every function, like if you're a Python developer and you use a lot of built-in function, but at the same time you can make that built-in function too, like you can make it yourself too, then there is no problem in learning Python. I switched to C++ for 1 month only in DSA, and I'll switch to C++ again when internship or placement season will come, like in my college. I'll see like switch to C++ again because it's no big deal. Let's talk about an example. Let's talk about DSA. There is a concept called sliding window, which is very popular between most of the product-based companies when it comes to interviews. If you know what sliding window is, if you know what the logic behind that thing is, doesn't matter if it's C++, doesn't matter if it's Java or Python, you can implement it. So learn Python to the core and do not use do not use shortcuts when learning Python. If you do this, you can make Python the main language. Like me, till date I have not encountered any type of struggle having Python as my main language, because sometimes in some hackathons and stuff Python is not there for DSA questions and all, but no big deal. Then I know C++ and I learned DSA in Python. I put less time in DSA than other people who are learning in C++ and Java, because I'll write less code, to be honest. So this is the one very big advantage of Python, that you can learn stuff faster than other people. So yeah, this was all about Python. Let's move to the next one. Now we'll be talking about the next three languages that either I quit or I'm learning right now. So let's talk about this one very popular language that I quit because I didn't see a lot of sense in learning it for me, because I know C++ and Python, so there is no need of this language for me right now. The language is Java. If you're confused that what language you should pick, if you're like, if you don't want to make things hectic for you, if you don't want to learn anything else in this college life, I would recommend Java. Java is widely used in Indian market when it comes to like backend development. Java is widely used for CP, and CP means competitive programming and DSA. And Java is also good for game development and all, as you have heard, Minecraft, Java edition and stuff. So Java is faster than Python, but slower than C++, but is a great choice if you want to like make your college life less hectic. So yeah, this is all I know about Java. Even though I don't work with Java, but I've worked with a lot of developers who code in Java through Discord. I did some front end for them. So Java is actually very reliable when it comes to backend development, and it has that ecosystem that I was talking about for backend development. So if someone asks me what's the best language for backend development, I would say Java, even though it's debatable. Some people will say, oh, Python's Django is very good. No, I don't think so. Some people will say Node.js, JavaScript is very good. Debatable, but personally, I think what I have seen, what I've observed, Java's Spring Boot is the king of backend development. Let's move ahead. So now let's talk about JavaScript, something that I'm currently learning because I'm associated with some project, and that project is MERN based. MERN is a tech stack which is JavaScript based, which stands for M MongoDB, E Express.js, R React.js, and N Node.js. So I'll explain something with an example. You see, most of the websites that I've made didn't have JavaScript, and they still can be called full stack apps because they had a database, they had a front end, and they had a back end. I never like when people actually make websites, when they deploy it, when they make them available online, they do this thing that they deploy some front end on something like Netlify or Vercel, and then they deploy backend differently on something like Supabase or Render, and they have a database too. But every website that I made, I deployed everything on Render. Now, what do I mean by that? So my websites actually were purely backend based. I just used to write some HTML and CSS. As I said, they are not programming languages. They are just there to make they're just there to make a website look. They don't perform functions. Websites don't perform any function, but they look like you can see buttons and colors if you know HTML, CSS. So what my backend code used to do was, it used to render that HTML and CSS templates on the server that it was running on. So it was a full stack website, but at the same time, it was purely backend based. So let's take an example. Let's say that Twitter was actually made by my architecture, my website architecture. It didn't had JavaScript. It only had like a backend in Python. You know what would have happened then? If you click like, the site will get refreshed. Now let's think about it on a big scale. If 1,000 people likes the same post at the same time, 1,000 people's browser will get refreshed, like the site will get refreshed. It will make the process hella slow. So that's why JavaScript is here. Here is where JavaScript wins. JavaScript is the language of the web. It is the undisputed king of web development. So what JavaScript does is it runs on browser. So what actually happens on Twitter is when you click something, when you like something, site doesn't get refreshed and everything happens on browser in an instant. The pages get updated in an instant. In my case, like the Python case, what happens is when I click the button, it tells to the backend, oh, the database updated, update the number of likes, and then the database, the likes are updated. This is front end, this is back end, this is database. I click something on front end, it goes to backend, backend makes changes in database, then it again comes from database to backend, and then the template is rendered. Look at this, how tough, how complex this process is. In JavaScript, if you know JavaScript, if you know vanilla JavaScript on front end, everything just happens in an instant, and that's why JavaScript is the king. So JavaScript is highly recommended if you want to go for web development and all. I used to say that, oh, I'll do it without JavaScript because I didn't know anything, that why is JavaScript. But now that I know the limitations of only backend systems, now I know why JavaScript is important. Now let's move to the last language that I tried to learn but quit. It's Rust. I'll tell you something about Rust. Rust is better than Python when it comes to ML. It is faster than Python. Rust in 2025, according to Stack Overflow, I guess, according to stats of Stack Overflow, it was the most loved programming language of 2025, followed by Python. Second was Python. First was Rust. Just think about it. I'm sure you never even heard of this name if you're just entering college or something. The problem with Rust is that people chose Python to be the king of AI/ML because it's simpler, it's easier. Python has the community support. Python has ecosystem, environment, everything. Rust lacks that, and that's why Rust is not something that is widely used. And that's why I'll also say that people who use Rust are considered cool, but don't choose Rust as your first programming language. Maybe use it later. Maybe learn it later. Okay. So this is all about all the programming languages. If I talk about resources, Python, as I said, maybe that I learned it from NCERT only, but I would recommend Tech with Tim. I learned backend in Python from Tech with Tim. Tech with Tim. I'll mention the channel in description. The one thing I love about that programmer is he's a self-taught programmer. He just tells you how things work and he leaves everything up to you. He doesn't over explain. He just says figure out everything yourself, which is the best thing, I guess. Then for C++, Code with Harry is great. For JavaScript, I'll recommend two things. You can either learn it on Scrimba. Scrimba is a website, or maybe you can learn it on Free Code Camp. I'll mention that link also. There's a course of 48 hours. It is also from Scrimba. 48 hours course. You can learn it in 2-3 months, finish that video in 2-3 months. But again, build. Don't only watch tutorials. Then there is another thing, like another resource I would like to tell you if you want to do it in Hindi, if you want to learn in Hindi, Code with Harry, Sigma web development course. It's free. It's very good on YouTube itself. Java, I would say Apna College is better, as I've heard. Again, I didn't complete Java. I just know a little bit syntax about conditionals and for loops. Nothing too great. For Rust, I will not tell you the resources because I won't recommend you learning Rust right now. So closing in, I would like to tell you something that we are blessed that we are in science. If you want to build something, we just need a laptop. And कहीं ना कहीं से कुछ ना कुछ जुगाड़ हो ही जाता है डिप्लॉयमेंट के लिए भी. GitHub student pack, credits इधर उधर से, and most of the things are free but have limitations. For someone who is in some field like ECE electronics, if he wants to build something, he have to purchase Arduinos, which like cost 3,000, 4,000. He have to like purchase wires, breadboards, LEDs, ICs. Damn. So it's hard for them to make projects, but it is easy for us to learn, implement, and make projects. So if you are getting enrolled in computer science, many people say it's very competitive, but at the same time, it's very fun. I find it very interesting to build stuff that I myself can use. I build a lot of stuff for my own self. I don't deploy it. So yeah, these are things that are very interesting about computer science. So I guess this is it for the video. I'll be mentioning my GitHub. I'll be mentioning my lead code, LinkedIn. You can follow me there. On my GitHub, there are a lot of repositories that may help you. So yeah, this is it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.